I guarantee that some of these reasons will surprise you. 100,000 Australians are experiencing homelessness. Fast forward 30 years later, they realize they made a boo-boo. We need to build at least 500,000 new affordable and social housing units for rental crisis. This approach has only added fuel to the fire. This portion of the population is not interested in buying a property in the first place. Banks can help out, but they choose not to. Welcome to another episode of Roy Talks Property. This channel is dedicated to help you become a serious property investor, so don't forget to subscribe. Your support goes a long way. Today, we're talking about the rental crisis and the three main factors behind this crisis. By the end of this video, you will understand that interest rates have nothing to do with the rental crisis in Australia. So if you're interested, keep watching. Australia is divided. The battle between landlords and tenants have become more intense as interest rates have increased and vacancy rates have hit historic lows. We now have a severe crisis with more and more tenants struggling to find an affordable home or even keep up with the rental increases. But what led us to this point? Are interest rates the only reason behind this ridiculous increase in rents? In this video, we'll explore the real factors behind Australia's rental crisis, and I guarantee that some of these reasons will surprise you. The first reason: federal sell-off. Did you know that the federal government is the biggest culprit in this rental crisis? Over the past few decades, the number of public housing assets in Australia has decreased by 20%. This has left fewer and fewer housing options for low-income households, and as a result, more than 100,000 Australians are experiencing homelessness and many more are struggling to keep a roof over their head. This rental crisis started in the 1990s when the federal government decided to sell off a portion of its social housing assets. Fast forward 30 years later, they realized they made a boo-boo and have committed to fixing the problem by building new social and affordable homes. Why on earth did you sell them in the first place? The $4.6 billion of federal money that the government has committed to in order to fix Australia's housing is not even enough. And according to the Australian Council of Social Service, we need to build at least 500,000 new affordable and social housing units by 2030 to meet the current demand, not to mention the natural increase in our population. The second factor or reason: lack of supply. There are two main reasons behind the lack of supply. On a state level, the Tenancy Act is a factor that contributes to the rental crisis in Australia. How, you might say? Over the last 2 decades, there has been a significant shift in the balance of rights between landlords and tenants in Australia. Some argue that this shift has resulted in a breakdown of landlord rights. And in recent years, state governments have introduced new tenancy laws that give more rights to tenants, such as longer notice periods for ending tenancy, restrictions on rent increases, limits on landlords' ability to evict tenants. And while these changes are nice to have and they're welcomed by some, others argue that they have gone too far and have made it more difficult for landlords to manage their own properties. Landlords now face more red tape and regulation when it comes to managing their own properties, and they have limited ability to protect their investment or to respond to changing market conditions. This is a major turnoff, and it's discouraging some property owners from entering the rental market or from continuing to rent out their properties. Let me show you an actual example. This is an email from the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales dated the 16th of February 2023. Notice some of the changes are being proposed to New South Wales Tenancy Act: freezing rent, capping rent increases and removing landlord rights to refuse pets, and abolishing no grants termination notices, and introducing portable bonds. The Real Estate Institute of New South Wales is an authority in this space, and they're saying that this will negatively impact the rental market and deepen the crisis. The second reason for the lack of supply is controversial, and you might hate me for saying this. If so, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Why do governments in Australia seem to be more focused on incentivizing first home buyers rather than property investors, despite the severe shortage of rental properties in the country? Over the last decade or so, the federal and state governments have been throwing money at the problem of first home ownership without addressing the root cause of rental crisis. This approach has only added fuel to the fire, exacerbating the problem rather than solving it. Incentivizing property investors to invest in real estate and increase the supply of rental properties, governments have been primarily focused on helping Australians buy their first homes. As a result, the rental market in Australia is facing severe shortage of available properties, leaving tenants struggling to find a home. Yes, it's obviously nice to have your own home, but let's not forget that Australia is a country of immigrants, and every year we get about 200,000 immigrants coming in on top of international students. This portion of the population is not interested in buying a property in the first place, at least for the first year or two. And the demand for this rental properties keeps growing on a year-on-year basis, and we're not adding enough properties to the pool. On top of that, governments have put red tape around co-living, co-housing, and so forth, and have made it a nightmare for developers to innovate and explore different housing models which could potentially solve the rental crisis. In February, the chairman of the Reserve Bank, sitting in a hearing with the parliament, when questioned about the effect of rising interest rates on the rental market, the chairman said very nicely that the government can help by increasing the supply of both homes and rental properties. The third factor, or the third reason behind Australia's rental crisis, is finance. Banks can help out, but they choose not to. Did you know that investment loans have higher interest rates than owner-occupier loans? Why? The same address, the same property, the same loan value. Say it's a $500,000 property, an investor pays a higher interest rate than an owner-occupier. Why is that? Banks say, oh, because it's an investment property, so it's a risky investment. If housing in Australia is risky, I don't know what else is safe. By limiting investors' access to lending, banks are directly contributing to the rental crisis in Australia. So the next time you're upset with your landlord, take it up with the bank. Rant over for today, and my dear investors, Australia needs more people like you. If you want to learn about how to invest and the 6 best investment strategies out there, make sure to check out this video. Overall, the issue of the relationship between tenants and landlords is complex, and it's not as simple as rates go up, rents go up. There are bigger things at play here, and it's important to take a step back, look at the bigger picture before forming an opinion about the rental crisis in Australia. If you believe there are other reasons why we have a rental crisis, please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate your support, and I'll talk to you again soon.